So how's your day been going so far?
Doing alright.
Also, you need to make sure to speak up because of all the noise.
I'll just talk really loud. Does that work?
That does work. From this angle, it looks like the cover of House of Cards.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Do I have to look at the camera?
You can look at the camera or at me, whichever is more comfortable for you.
Creep people out in the video. They're just staring at the camera.
First things out of the way. The purpose of this vlog is threefold. Firstly, it's so I can practice my editing and cinematography skills so I can become a better filmmaker. Secondly, it's so friends and family who want to know what I'm up to but don't care enough to pick up the phone and call me or write a letter can log on to YouTube and see what I've been up to. And thirdly, so that when I lose my memory in the accident, I'll be able to remember some things from my past life. Yeah, so with that third purpose in mind, if you just state for the record your name and any identifying information.
So this is weird. I'm like talking to you when you're dead. Hello, Seth. Not
But-
dead. You're not here though, you know. Okay, what do I say?
Name and any other identifying information that will help me to remember who you are after I lose my memory in the accident.
Right.
My name is Mirab and I am your dear friend. Wait, is it on?
Yes, it's on.
So you've been asking me all these questions without telling me that it was on? Okay, fine. Well, hi everyone. I am Mirab and I'm Seth's dear friend. I met Seth in... Well, first of all, like Seth was like a random guy walking with a hat like all over campus. And I was like, okay, who's that dude? And then one day like I met him at my prayer group and I was like introduced to him and found out that he's a pretty cool guy. And like, he has like the coolest ideas for like improv stuff. So, hey Seth, I hope you remember me.
Hello, I am Ashlyn Davey. I am currently a sophomore here at SDSMT. I don't know what else you'd want. Yeah. I'm currently a mechanical engineering student, but I have officially started switching my major to computer science.
I'm Emily Parks. I'm a computer science major. I'm from Mitchell, South Dakota. I met Seth at the InterVarsity picnic my freshman year, and I remembered him because of his hat and his mustache. Fun fact.
So I'm Adrian Epp. I'm from Giltner, Nebraska. I don't expect you to know where that is. East Central Nebraska. I'm the 6th of 7 children, and I'm studying mechanical engineering at South Dakota School of Mines and Technology.
My name is Joseph Mulcahy. Most of y'all call me Joey though. From California. Get roasted constantly for being from California. 19 years old at this current time. Just finished my freshman year of college. My social security number is...
So my name is Daniel Rohde. I'm a freshman mechanical engineer at the South Dakota School of Mines, and I'm originally from Minnesota, Winona, which is on the southeastern part of Minnesota, right on the Mississippi River. I grew up as a homeschooler, played sports a lot growing up. I've messed around with knife making and starting my own little business with that. I categorize myself as a Christian as far as faith goes, and I don't know, is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
So anyway, onto the official question list. How do you think this year was for you overall?
Oh man, where do I start? I'm not sure how to necessarily compare it to other people. However, for myself, at the beginning of the year I was a totally different person. That could just be the fact that I was, big transition from, leaving home, going to college, sort of making that next jump in terms of independent adulthood. It's been crazy in terms of the things I've been able to accomplish in terms of like making friends and filling into the person that God means for me to be. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the only way I could put it. Like every single day, it was a new step of growth.
I think as far as classes go, they are going better than I expected at the beginning of the semester, so I'm glad about that. It's definitely different than last year. I have like different roommates. Some of my friends are living off campus now, so I don't see them as much. But overall, I think it's going as well as I would have hoped it would, I guess.
I think this was a good year. It was a lot busier than last year, but it was good. I got to know a lot more people in InterVarsity, which was fun, and classes went well, and I just had a good time.
It was rough, to put it plainly. We're just a broad scope. It was rough.
I don't know. I think it was kind of a whirlwind, but as time went by, it helped me become more mature and handle situations better. I think this past semester for me especially was like becoming more organized and dealing with situations better, I guess.
So I think it went a lot better than I was expecting, honestly. I was a little nervous about coming to an engineering school that it definitely has a reputation of being fairly hard, fairly big dropout rate, partly because it's high entrance rate too, but I was fairly nervous about how well I'd do, and so I was pretty active about working hard and keeping a good plan and following through with that. My roommate is actually my cousin, and it's been a lot of fun getting to go through the school year with him and just go through this process of learning engineering. And I'm still fairly at a base level as far as engineering. I didn't come with a lot of credit as far as engineering goes. But I think the favorite thing about being here has been the community. It's been a lot of fun getting to know like you guys and people in InterVarsity and all the church at Common Grounds and stuff like that. It's been very, very good. And I've really appreciated the opportunities of small groups and just college community. I hadn't had that before really, and it's kind of neat, especially going from homeschooling. You don't get a ton of interaction with other people. Well, I've done sports and stuff like that, but actually like living in a community of everyone my age is kind of unique and kind of fun.
How do you think it compared to your previous years at school?
First year was very laid back compared to this one. Especially first semester, I didn't really meet a ton of people. I kind of just stuck to myself. And so it was more fun this year, I guess, because I had more friends and more people to do stuff with.
I feel like this year I pulled myself out of a lot of things on purpose, I guess, because I wanted to make sure that I focused on things that I was passionate about. By doing that, that left me a lot more time to really focus on myself. So this past semester, like I really made sure that I made it a point to spend time alone and reflect on what I've been doing. So I think that really helped me, opposed to like the previous years where I was running from one thing to another and doing things that I was not necessarily a part of, but since my friends were doing it, so I did it too.
Previous years were a breeze. Sophomore year had some rough moments, but junior year is just hitting me hard.
Honestly, I really just didn't know what to expect coming into school. Just with so many variables changing, I didn't know where it was going to go. I'm glad that it turned out the way it did. I suppose if I was expecting one thing, that wasn't necessarily how it turned out to be. I was definitely expecting to stay in touch with my life in California a lot more, but instead I almost sort of like attached to the community here as opposed to reaching back.
You kind of mentioned this a little bit already, but what's something unexpected that happened to you this year?
I'm getting interviewed.
I guess I wasn't entirely planning on it, but I went on a missions trip to Haiti. The deadline was like in December sometime, I think. And like on the day of the deadline, I was like, yep, I want to sign up for that. So that kind of just came up out of nowhere. So that was probably the most just kind of unplanned event that happened. It was really good. It was different and a little scary sometimes just because Haiti isn't like the safest country ever. But it was really fun. I made a lot of better relationships with people in my church back home, and then the crew in Haiti. It was super fun just to get to know them for a week and get to hang out with them and hear their stories and develop that relationship with them solely based on Christ and what we're doing there that week. So that was really awesome. And then we also got to drill a well for like a big school of little kids. So that was really exciting just to get to hang out with them all day.
Sure.
This was the trip that I went on. I didn't realize that.
I think I became a part of InterVarsity exec, which was kind of not something that I had been like anticipating.
Well, I certainly didn't plan on living in 2 different houses over the last 2 semesters. Too much moving. I didn't expect to do that. It's always a mess with me. I'm not very organized when moving. There's still stuff in my car from the first time I moved, which actually I haven't spent much time living at home since the summer after my freshman year, because summer after my sophomore year, I lived here in Rapid in an apartment for 3 months, and then I moved to a house out in the country for a semester, and then I moved from that house to a place in town that's about the same cost, just a little bit more for this current semester. Yeah, so more moving than I like to do. Yeah, having lived in the same house for the rest of my life.
Well, I participated in a mock drama play. That was interesting. It was a great experience. Unexpected was how much I loved calculus, actually. I was not expecting to like it that much, but it's been probably my favorite class, and it's a ton of fun. And just how good of friends I've been able to make and fit in with others has been kind of unexpected. Not that I completely expected them to be horrible, but it was a pleasant surprise. I'll say that.
I don't think I necessarily expected myself to get so involved right away. I feel like I have multiple communities that I can lean on, and because of that, there's just a whole lot of variety up here, more than I was expecting. Toward the end of the year, it got to be sort of routine, but sort of forming those new bonds of friendship and everything. Not that I didn't expect to make friends, but just I didn't expect it to be so expansive.
I guess that I ultimately came to a decision to switch to computer science. Last year I took the CSE 170 class, and I actually liked that way more than I thought I would. I actually really enjoyed kind of the way you have to think when writing a program. And this semester I took my freshman design class for mechanical engineering, and I am not quite as much of a fan of it as I was computer science. So, I try not to hold, I'm taking thermo, solids, and dynamics right now. I knew that'd be tough, but I'm not too much of a fan of any of that, except maybe dynamics, but I know those are pretty important to mechanical engineering, so I hope it goes well. So far it's going over really well. The entire transition process was pretty easy, and when I met the few professors that I had to get signatures from and stuff to sign up for classes, they actually seemed like they'd be pretty good professors. And talking with my computer science friends, they talk very highly about their program, which I would hope they enjoy it enough to talk highly about it, but I have high hopes for the fall semester now.
So what's something that you learned this year, either about yourself or others or life?
Well, for me, generally, in life, I realized that no matter what part of life you're in, there's never a point where your memory or your learning capacity gets done. I feel like it keeps expanding. So previously, we all had the idea of the fact that, if you go past this age, you cannot learn anymore. To an extent, that might be true, but I believe that no matter what age you're in, you might think that you're not smart enough for stuff, but that's not true. If you're hardworking, you can definitely work towards something and create connections in your brain, which will really help you expand your memory or expand your knowledge over that certain topic.
It was kind of going off of Haiti, just going there and seeing how little that they had, just realizing that if I have a shirt that fits me and isn't dirty and full of holes, then I'm super blessed. And just having that different perspective on how much I have and what I should do with that stuff, or time or energy. So I think what I learned is just be generous with what you have, and that God has blessed me so that I can be a blessing to others.
I think one thing that really jumped out at me this year, I became a lot more appreciative of how I was raised, because a lot of people their freshman year of college, it's very polarizing depending on the effect, and I feel like my parents raised me in a way that I was able to handle myself relatively well. Not to necessarily play the comparison game, but I'm going to play the comparison game. Compared to a lot of other people I knew who came into college their first year, didn't necessarily have the mentality that they needed to survive in school, as well as just that next step into adulthood.
Last year I was having some troubles. I was really homesick. And I think being home in the fall semester kind of helped me realize that things are different from what they were in high school, and things aren't going to be the same, and I should move on. And I think moving on from that, I kind of realized that I can enjoy my life out here as well, even if I do miss home occasionally. I guess just moving on from that was a process, but now that I've kind of gotten past that, and I don't know, I'm seeing that I can enjoy my life out here a lot more.
Well, I've learned that God is willing to let me carry on with less than ideal behaviors till I change or they break me. So that was a fun lesson. What I learned about people, I already knew it, but it seems like it's one of those things that I just need reminding of. To actually interact with a lot of people, I actually have to put in effort, you know. I tend to put little effort in and still hope to hang out as much as I would in the past.
The biggest thing I've been learning, I think, is just how to interact with others, how to step out and how to interact in a Christian fashion and in a community, and just put myself out there and try things that are uncomfortable, and it's a good experience and that sort of thing. I think, as far as about life anyway, would be the necessity to open up to people, to actually enjoy being in a community or being a part of a group, especially in like small groups or just any friend group, to actually enjoy being a part of them or feel included. You have to also open up to allow them to, you have to be vulnerable to actually have relationships with others. I haven't been super great at that previously, but I think that's something I've grown a lot in. As far as just life lessons, is that if I want to participate and feel like a part, I have to actually actively go out there and try to be a part. It's not always super fun, but the result of that is always pretty good. I think personally has been just the benefit of good habits and disciplines. I think I've developed a lot of really good personal, just daily habits being here on campus, which has been really good. And I think I've also learned that I can be a lot more social than I used to think I was.
This is a new question that I've been trying out this year. What's something that you've learned from another specific person?
I don't know, I feel like it's really hard to choose one person because I learned a little bit from all sorts of people. So I don't know, nitpicking just one person and really be okay, this is what he or she taught me would be hard.
I think a lot of the things I pick up from people are mostly from observation than direct speaking of advice or something like that. And some 3 people would be Colby Harris, you, and maybe Brian Foltinsky at church. From Colby, I think one of the things I've learned is just to not be put off by, how do you put that? How to appreciate things that are people that are a lot different than me and a lot goofier, and just to appreciate those people that approach a situation much more, just from a different perspective than I do, because he's very goofy and kind of a funny guy, and I think I've just really grown to appreciate that kind of attitude and easygoingness, and so I've tried to model certain things after that. From you would have been just the value of, I don't know if you'll think this is strange, just having good handwriting and being a reader and talking accurately, and you speak very accurately and verbally is very formal and professional in my mind, and so I think I've tried to learn from that a little bit as well. And from Brian Foltinsky, who's pastor at Common Ground, I think I've grown to appreciate, because he is very theological and intellectual, but he has a ability to kind of separate himself a little bit from that and to be very welcoming and easygoing, and that's something I'd really like to continue as well, as far as life down the road, to know what I believe and why I believe it, but also to welcome and be free for discussion with everyone else about why and how, and not come at it super condescendingly, and so those are some things I think I've learned from specific people.
I think Brian Foltinsky was the pastor of my church. When I started going to that church, it was very interesting to me. It had tastes of what I experienced back home, but it also sort of brought this new, interesting take on Christianity as a whole. And not to say that it's trying a bunch of things that are just not out of the Bible or anything, but I think where I'm going with this ultimately is that he sort of helped me to understand other people's perspectives, understanding that everyone has their own version of how they see the world, and that can be a huge blessing in terms of contributing to overall good. Everyone has something to contribute, basically. Like, everyone has their own perspective, and of course it's up to you to parse which is, biblical, non-biblical, good, not good, whatever. But just sort of, I guess, that general thing.
I guess I've learned some things about the movie industry from my friend London. She's from California, and her dad does a lot of Foley for movies, and it's just kind of fun hearing her stories and learning these things that I never would have guessed happen in Hollywood, but I suppose I should have guessed they would happen occasionally.
Usually I don't talk about stuff a whole lot, so I usually just kind of sit there and don't say anything. But with Katie, she likes to talk a lot, and so she's kind of helped me to open up and like actually talk about things that are going on in my life. So I guess I've learned to talk about things with people more. I guess, kind of. I usually do like with my family, but I don't know. It feels like I'm complaining when I do it, and I don't like to do that, so usually I don't. But I try not to complain through opening up, if that makes sense.
So what's something that God showed you or did for you this year?
In the past, I've described it as something that he punched you in the face with, figuratively, or literally, if you were that lucky.
I was not punched in the face with anything this year. Peter did throw a water bottle at my face once, but that wasn't anything grand. Besides what I learned in Haiti, I think that was probably just my biggest thing this year, and what I focus on. That's what I learned there. Can't really think of anything else at this moment that's huge.
The less than ideal behavior that I was speaking of is mostly procrastinating. It took a toll on me. It starts to affect more than just having less time in the day to do homework, because it starts to affect grades and classes and the amount of sleep I get, even so far as how well I eat, or how much I exercise. It's quite the beast. I don't know, it's something that God's been nudging me to fix for a long time. So it's either I break or I turn around. I've been working on it. I'm not perfect by any means of the word, it's not now, but I'm at least working at it.
I guess I've kind of been on a constant spiritual journey, learning new things about, honestly, Catholicism and Orthodoxy and Protestantism as well, and learning all these new things. I feel like my spiritual life is becoming more and more enriched. Of course, I can only attribute that to God, so.
Back in January, he kind of punched me in the face and made me realize that I was kind of it's not necessarily living a fake life, but because my life was good, I wasn't relying on him as I should have been. And when it all came crashing down, it was like a little punch, slap kick, whatever, in the face. It was almost like instant hindsight, It just sort of made me realize all the mistakes I had made that first semester, or not all of them necessarily, but a lot of them. I think just that instant realism, and I suppose specifically, almost like putting up a facade of my life is good, and I know it's because of God, however, I'm going to pretend it's from me. And he's like, no, you can't do that. Kick my feet out from under me.
The one thing I think has been on my heart, all year at least, it's been kind of like a slow beating, is just, I think I'm very resistant to sharing my faith or talking about it with non-believers or others. Within the believer group, I feel like I'm fairly fine. I love discussing it, I love talking about it, but I'm very hesitant and nervous to do it with anyone else. And I think that's been like a slow beating being at college, as far as kind of putting myself out there a little bit more, being willing to discuss those kind of, for a lot of people, touchy topics. And I think that's something that I've been pushed a lot in. I don't think I'm very good at it yet, but to at least be willing to bring up the topic of religion or God, and to just not be afraid to discuss that. And I think most people aren't really afraid to just talk about it. I think it's more for me, my side is feeling weird and worried that they'll think I'm judging them. So I think that's something I've definitely been pushed in a lot, and it's been on my heart.
So in the past years, I've always thought that forming strong connections with people is like really important, and I feel like if you form a connection with someone, like they have to stay in your life. But like after coming to college, and especially this past year, I realized that not everyone that you form a strong connection with is gonna stay in your life, and they are not definitely like subjected to do so, you know. People are just gonna come and go, but what's gonna stay with you is how you look at life and how you believe in yourself and how strongly you believe in your faith. Those are some of the things that are going to stick around for a lot more than people. And like I have learned to like get over people easy. Whereas previously it was hard, because if you're like hanging out with a group of people really constantly and all of a sudden like you don't meet them anymore and you're like, oh okay, what happened and all that stuff. But I've just realized people come and go. It's the part of life.
What's some advice that you would give to high schoolers who are getting ready to come into college next semester?
Oh boy, so many things.
Make sure you do your homework, preferably right when it's assigned, you know, because then it's fresh. Learn how to study. That is key. I learned what my sister has been doing in her first year of college, and I'm impressed. What she does every day after classes is she will read her notes, starting from where the last test material ended, all the way to the current day, so that it's always fresh in her mind, so that when she comes to the test, she barely has to study at all, because she already knows the material. So, study. But don't make that your life. It's a boring life. It's not worth it. Do it to the extent that is necessary. Don't overdo it, because friends are nice. I had a good number of friends freshman year. You know, I hung out with a fair number of people. Now I'm boring and I'm in my room all the time. So get a good group of friends, come to InterVarsity, it's the best.
Get involved right away, that's what I would say. It's easy to come here and be like, oh well, I want to see how much my class load is, so I don't want to do anything else. But freshman year, you probably have the most time out of all of the years. So I would say get involved right away, find a good group of Christian friends just to help you stay strong in your faith through all the changes.
You don't exactly know what to expect with college, especially if you're going away from home, you know, even if it's just a couple hours. It's hard to foresee your life, like what it would be when you've never experienced a change like that before. And especially when you're touring colleges, don't base what you think your college life is going to be like on that tour, because they won't tell you the bad stuff. If you ask about it, they might be truthful, but like, just be prepared for both good and bad. And don't expect it to be like what you might fantasize about in your head before you head off.
I feel like I was fairly well prepared for coming into college. So there weren't a ton of things that I think were completely surprising to me, except for one thing was just the realization that in, especially like clubs, is that I wanted to be a part and have an active, like had something to do in clubs, especially like robotics and, you know, like InterVarsity, Moonrockers. I wanted to have a job to do, and I want someone to tell me that's something I could go do and I could actually be helpful. And I think I was getting to the realization that you aren't going to get told what to do most of the time, and especially in clubs where there's students and they don't really want to boss other students around a whole lot or just give them a task. You have to be very active and asking if there's anything you can do, and actually going out and taking the initiative and doing something that you see it needs to be done, and go do it before someone asks you or does it themselves. And I think I was hoping that someone would just give me something I could do, and I would be happy to do it, and I would be seen as being useful that way. But I think I was finding that you aren't going to get told what to do, and you're going to have to figure that out for yourself, or ask someone if there's anything you can do if you want to participate, really. So I think that was a big thing I learned as far as clubs go anyway. But something I think I was good at anyways, that I would definitely advise, is be really diligent with your work and build good habits and follow a plan as far as schedule things. Like, you know, you should read your Bible in the morning. Do that. Wake up a little bit early and do that, you know. Try and keep active. Do some running or do something actively instead of just school. And make time for social activities like InterVarsity. So try and balance those and just be really intentional about what's important to you. For me, like things that were important were music. I wanted to keep practicing my guitar. Reading my Bible was really important to me. And reading other books was important to me. And then growing good relationships. So those are like 4 things that were particularly important to me, and I tried to schedule things around all those because those are core, and doing well in school. But in a way it was secondarily important, though it was still very important. In regards to like choosing one or the other, like school, like homework, or do I go to InterVarsity or my small group, I feel like my school couldn't be a top priority because it shouldn't. I have plenty of other time I can do it, or I can stay up a couple extra hours and do my homework later. I only can do the InterVarsity that particular time frame. That's the one that should be done. And yeah, just prioritizing what's your priority. And that's important because school can definitely be consuming, and you can just infinitely do more and more perfectionist the work of your homework and everything else.
Definitely like schedule things and be on top of your game, and if you have to say no to someone, be sure to do so. Like, don't be afraid to say no. Yeah, like sometimes we think that the things that we're doing right now are not gonna matter, but like know what your priorities are and how that thing is gonna impact your future is very important, and base your decisions or your choices off of that.
I suppose the big one would probably just be, don't act like you know everything. Don't come in expecting to pick it up right away. Don't come in expecting to be the king of the campus. You're there to learn, and not just in terms of like engineering in school, but also just grow as a person. So because of that, you need to be able to take from other people and recognize that some people are wiser than you, have more experience than you, and that if you play your cards right, that could be a valuable tool for you to also gain that experience. Also, I'll throw in the phrase here, don't let your shortcomings define you. Don't be proud of what makes you a bad person, but instead always work to refine yourself and stand out, not necessarily in a way that'll, that's arrogant, but stand out in a way that humble yourself. That's what I mean to say. Stand out was not the right phrase.
Oh, and freshmen, if you want caramel rolls, I will bake them for the small price of $15 a dozen.
Pretty good deal, I think. Especially if this is like 5 years later and you have to ship them out here.
Yeah, 5 years later, unless I'm in town, don't bother. If you do somehow creepily know where I live in 5 years, I'm speaking to strangers, and they can track me down and want caramel rolls, sure, I'll make you caramel rolls. Just don't do it too often. I hope to have a life by then, so. As if the caramel rolls are that good. They're good. I wouldn't go on a scavenger hunt for them. Because by the time I get there, they're gonna be cold.
Anyway, how about some advice for returning students?
Same advice I gave to the freshmen. Though if they haven't figured that out by now, there will be problems. By the time you're in your junior year, even sophomore year, you have your set of friends that you spend the most time with, and you don't bother talking to anyone else. Like when I started living in Placer with Matt, Zeke, and Clint, nobody in Placer, elsewhere in Placer who we would talk to, or everybody had their own groups of friends, and it was usually just the quad mates, so you never saw anybody else or associated with anyone else.
I think for a returning student, I think it's really important to maintain a spiritual life. You might get too busy in your own work and forget about, it's really important to nurture your soul, and that's where God comes in. And I feel like maintaining a strong spiritual life is really important.
I would say stick with what you find important. Hopefully that's InterVarsity or some Christian organization. Like I said, you won't have as much time sophomore year as you do freshman year, so it's easy to stop doing some things, but make sure you still make a priority for God and for that relationship.
Reconnect with the people you've met before. Try to, things are probably going to be different than they were the year before, but don't let that inhibit your friendships, and don't get out of touch just because you're not with someone in a class anymore, or they're not living on your floor or something. Reconnecting with friends, you'll find a lot of them do know who you are, and they remember you, and they care about you, and you just have to sometimes work to keep them in your life, but it's worth it.
So what's something that you're looking forward to next year?
Being on top of my schedule and not getting myself too involved into things, but focusing on what's gonna matter since I graduated in May. Hopefully. Never know.
I'm looking forward to some of the classes that I'll be taking because I feel like I'll be applying more of what I've been learning, so seeing some results of the coursework that I've been going through. I mean, I've seen the classes you guys are in, and you guys are mostly a semester ahead of me or more. So you guys are doing a lot of design stuff, which looks fun. Hard, but fun.
Next year, I get to be an RPM, which I'm super excited for. And so I'll have 2 freshman dorms of people that I get to hang out with. And so hopefully I'll be able to be a good example for them and get a bunch of them to go to InterVarsity with me. And so I'm looking forward to that and just building those relationships with those people. Thanks, Mirab.
I mentioned before just sort of how I made a lot of steps to sort of get involved, and I think next year there's going to be an even bigger continuation of that. Like, I was hired to be a residential peer mentor next year, and I'm really looking forward to that. Not only getting experience in terms of like tutoring and being able to work while I'm at school, but also just like getting to know the new freshmen and to build those relationships for the remaining years of college. Okay, so residential peer mentor.
So an RPM is a residential peer mentor.
If you've heard of resident advisors or RAs, it's almost like the academic arm of an RA.
Basically, it's like a tutor that lives in the dorms with the students, and they can help them out with their homework or anything that they're struggling with.
You can go to them and talk about like the general education courses that most freshmen have to take, and they're always just there to help you, and they're there to help you succeed academically.
But it's just living in their dorms with them, and so it's more available.
That's really going to be what I'll be doing, and make sure it's a fun and enjoyable process along the way. I suppose another thing is just I'm hoping to step more into professional development next year, and I think that'll be really good for my future career and also just how to handle myself more professionally, just in general.
I'm looking forward to being a small group leader, hopefully. Also potentially going on a study abroad next spring. I would definitely be looking forward to that. I'm actually kind of looking forward to being like a sophomore and having like freshmen running around and feeling like the wise old owl that's still foolish. And just kind of like coming back to here where there will be new people and familiar people, and just getting the chance to reach out to the younger ones like other ones did to me. And I think that'll be a lot of fun. I'm an officer in Moonrockers as well, but that probably won't be super interesting, but it'll be interesting to come back to clubs and people that I've known already, see how it's different and what it's like looking at the freshmen. Wondering what it'll be like looking at the sophomores when I'm a junior. It'll be interesting.
Since this will be on the internet and on YouTube for as long as Google exists, which means for at least the next 150,000 years.
Oh yes.
Any other comments that you'd like to make for posterity or your future self?
Future archaeologists who stumble upon this in the ruins of San Francisco thousands of years in the future.
San Francisco. How's it ending up in San Francisco?
Because it'll be on YouTube, so it'll be on their servers.
Got it.
So, to all those future people, they've buried something of great value.
Zeke already used that joke first year.
Oh, you did? Just so people know, skim milk is horrible. Give Alex Spies a hard time about it, because it's just water. Never buy green beans or corn from a store. And apple pie does not taste very good. Or cheesecake. Cheesecake doesn't taste good either. I could catch a lot of flack for that, but I don't care. It's the truth.
It's been such a good year, I think. It's been a lot of learning, a lot of good memories, and lots I'll miss about this year, and things I'll be glad are gone. I don't know, other than just the fact that it's been a really good year and a lot of great people that I'll miss, that people are leaving, and other seniors that are still coming back. I'm looking forward to getting to hang out with them a little bit more before they're gone, and just looking forward to a new year. God will have for us and that sort of thing. I don't know what else to say about that.
Just continue to make God a priority in everything.
You made it through. Good job.
Congratulations, you got through this stage of your life and hopefully graduated and you're happy where you are, I hope. And if not, keep going at it and don't give up, I guess. That's just what I'm trying to do every day, so.
Mark drama. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
It's good.
So I did not want to do mark drama whatsoever. I'm not an outgoing person. And then Seth made me do it pretty much. He was like, well, we need girls, so you're doing this. Which I appreciate now because it was a really good experience. It was fun, and now I have like mark memorized, which is pretty awesome.
I absolutely loved the scene where we acted out the storm. That was my favorite, like the echoes of people just like imitating the raindrops, and then all of a sudden it got really loud and loud and loud and loud and echoes, and then all of a sudden snap, it's like done. And so it was like, whoa, okay. That was my favorite part.
I'd like to do a European project semester, EPS, which they have a whole bunch of people come together and do like a senior design kind of thing. It can be an engineering project, and I'd like to do something like that.
History, American History 1 by Van Nuys. My lowest test grade was 100.
I don't have a favorite. They're kind of all just meh to me, except TechCom, which is...
I mean, if civilization's gonna collapse, I want it to happen while I'm here.
I kind of like get some credit for it.
It's the speeches that I despise entirely.
Look at the line of people who want to meet me. Okay, it's alright, you didn't have to. Whatever.
I would start by being the benevolent dictator.
I feel like it would get kind of bad if it was for more than 4 years or so of that, but...
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
Everybody dies.
Debatable.
With my ideal sort of government.
It's actually pretty impressive. The autonomy that they have on there is actually really good. And
Kind of weird having this much free time because I'm not used to having any free time.
Is that a squirrel behind me?
Yes.
Tell me if I move too much.
It's like this is the only time in our life where we're going to be in a place where everybody, well, except maybe a retirement home, everybody's like our age.
yeah.
So what if I like watch this video and like realize, okay, I don't look as pretty as I'm like supposed to be, like I do in the mirror, and like, okay, let's just redo this. Would you be willing to do that?
It's kind of like throwing out everything I learned in high school.
Especially in our day and age where like traveling is relatively available and opportunity is endless almost. It's like
It's a lot easier to take over the world when the world's mostly destroyed.
It's true. It is.
So have you turned off the camera?
No.
Oh, okay. I was just curious. I was wanting to get comfortable.
I actually took a nap today and I don't think I've done that in like months.
it just seems like you gotta try at least a few things.
I am thankful that you were willing to make me famous and interview me, you know. I'm glad I was able to make time for you. I'm just kidding.
It was interesting to see like how stupid the disciples were. Like
They go down to NASA and they have a competition for these robots to like
Write for an audience that doesn't really want to read what you're writing, but they have to, so.
Your favorite character right here, John, not the Baptist, the disciple.
designs and builds a robot that is meant to
Always respond to your emails when you're like, we should get together, but.
they do not get it, and then like you can think that about the disciples, and then you're like, wait, I'm probably even worse than that.
People will want to watch me, you know, like if they start watching me, they will want to watch me.
That'd be a good reality TV show.
I don't know, why am I so afraid? I think it's Zeke.
All of our homework is group work,
Oh.
so I don't know how I feel about it. Like,
Tasting well just means like you're very good at tasting.
I definitely at least want to do it once, and I might do it the second time, I don't know. But
Why can't you host like 2 people at like 2 different times? Is that too much?
There's one thing I like to do, it's make people do things that they don't want to do.
Yeah, I'll come to California.
You and Brandon come over.
Hi, Brandon.
Jesus knows that we don't get it. Like He understands.
I enjoyed my time on this camp. It's really pretty and serene environment. Is that squirrel behind me?
Menaslevo.